how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Now you're poking fun at it. So now it's just a big joke? This whole thing's a joke? This is absolute cringeworthy, and they should be ashamed.
Blake Lively just broke down on SNL after Ryan Reynolds destroyed himself on live TV in the most spectacularly embarrassing way possible. Blake had spent months crafting the perfect sob story, playing the victim like an Oscar was on the line.
Did they rewrite the SNL scripts too? Terrible humans.
But thanks to Ryan's spectacular self-sabotage, the whole act collapsed on live TV. And now, she's the one picking up the pieces. But if you don't know what exactly went bad this time, let me tell you everything from the start.
Did Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively make their first public appearance at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary? They made a joke about it all.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds arrived at the SNL 50th anniversary event, smiling for the cameras like nothing was wrong. This was their first public appearance since Justin Baldoni sued them for $400 million, and they acted as if it was just another night out. Blake wore a silver floral gown, looking confident as ever. Ryan kept it simple in a black tux, but body language said more than their outfits.
Right here for company. Blake and Ryan to your slight right, both of you, thanks.
Blake kept watching Ryan closely, already bracing for the moment he'd say something stupid. He always does. The show started, the jokes were rolling, and then the hosts turned to Ryan.
Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
A basic, harmless question. Ryan made it a problem because he could have said anything. He could have played it safe, dodged the moment, or at the very least, kept his mouth shut. But no, he went with sarcasm. The second Amy Poehler and Tina Fey asked the question, he smirked and threw out a loaded one-liner.
Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
And just like that, the entire room shifted. The audience laughed, but not because it was funny. It was the kind of laugh that covers up secondhand embarrassment, because everyone in that room had heard something. Everyone knew about the lawsuit, the headlines, the PR disaster that had been following Blake and Ryan for months.
I love the acting. She's really. What? Have you heard something? Have you heard something? Even Steven Spielberg's kind of like, okay, what? Now, definitely people laughed at it. It got some laughs.
And the one person who wasn't laughing? Blake Lively. Her face said everything. The second those words left Ryan's mouth, she turned toward him, eyes sharp, expression frozen. It wasn't subtle. It was the kind of look that said, "Are you seriously doing this right now?" Because if there was one thing Blake wanted to avoid, it was their lawsuit drama becoming SNL material.
It got some laughs. A little uncomfortable from Anna Taylor, and then Kevin Costner just didn't react at all.
But Ryan? He didn't care. This is what he does. He turns real-life disasters into punchlines. When the lawsuit first made headlines in December 2024, did Ryan step back and handle it with maturity? No. Did he publicly support Blake in any real way? Also no. Instead, he turned Justin Baldoni into a joke in Deadpool.
Ryan used his Nice Pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
A new character named Nice Pool just so happened to resemble Baldoni. Same soft-spoken personality, same over-the-top feminist branding, same empty male ally energy. The character preached about toxic masculinity while being treated as an absolute joke. And if that wasn't obvious enough, Ryan even threw in a pregnancy-related jab, something Baldoni is famously outspoken about.
There is no question that, yes, Ryan Reynolds based his Deadpool Wolverine character, Nice Pool, with the man bun, on Justin Baldoni.
Baldoni's team immediately caught on. They knew what Ryan was doing. This wasn't just a harmless Deadpool gag. It was a very public, very deliberate mockery. And now, months later, Ryan was doing it again. Except this time, it was live on national television, and Blake was right there, caught in the middle.
Really, dude? This is so petty. Because it's like, if he really did all the things you said was what to your wife, this just feels too jokey.
The moment Ryan made that joke, the energy in the room changed. Even the SNL hosts hesitated, like they weren't sure if they should laugh or pretend it never happened. Because while Ryan was out here cracking jokes, everyone in that audience knew the lawsuit was anything but funny.
In Deadpool Wolverine, you used Deadpool Wolverine to like mock this guy in the film that your wife disagreed with and didn't get along with. It's so hard to process.
And instead of reading the room, Ryan doubled down. Because what's the best way to deflect from a massive legal scandal? Apparently, a Coneheads joke. Out of nowhere, he switched topics completely.
Yeah, okay. Well, my question is that, you know that the materials that they made the cone heads with, are those edible?
No, and based on them being made in 1975, I'd assume that they're highly toxic.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler went with it, but it was obvious. This was forced. Tina shot back, no, and based on them being made in 1975, I'd assume they're highly toxic. Ryan, keeping the bit going, pretended to be concerned. Oh, okay. So if someone, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage, should they go to the hospital? Amy didn't even pause. Yes, they should go to the hospital, immediately.
So if somebody, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and, got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they?
Yes, they should go to the hospital right away.
Good.
Good luck.
Great.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, well, it wasn't funny. The only thing that was funny was the fact that he, made a point.
And just like that, the conversation moved on. The lawsuit, buried, the tension, pushed aside. The audience laughed, but not because the joke was funny. They laughed because they didn't know what else to do.
He kind of had to being there, which makes me realize and think this was all orchestrated and planned. This was his WME and people getting in and giving Lauren Michaels and Saturday Night Live sort of the opportunity to get them there first, to sort of address it.
And our poor Blake Lively, who spent years building her image as America's sweetheart, charming and adored by Hollywood, saw everything crumble in a single moment. It wasn't some explosive lawsuit, a leaked scandal, or a career-ending revelation. It was one careless sentence, caught on camera, delivered with the kind of arrogance that the internet never forgets.
She's never hosted. He's never hosted. He appeared once as a guest star, but the fact that they're there to me on this show of all shows felt very forced.
It happened at a New York press junket for It Ends With Us, a film already drowning in controversy. This was supposed to be a PR win, a way for Blake to remind the world that she was still the face of a powerful female-led project.
And Kirsty just wanted to ask Blake Lively a question about, first and foremost, Blake Lively was pregnant while she was filming this. So she opens up with just like a nice compliment about her cute little bump.
And then, Kirsty D. Flaw happened, a veteran Hollywood journalist, respected, sharp, and completely unaware that she was about to become the catalyst for Blake's worst PR disaster yet. Sitting across from Blake, she smiled and offered what should have been a harmless, supportive remark. First of all, congrats on your little bump. It was polite, friendly, nothing out of the ordinary. But Blake's reaction? Immediate and brutal.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump? You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
Her smile disappeared, her body stiffened, and without missing a beat, she fired back. Congrats on yours! The room froze. Kirsty blinked, caught completely off guard. And that's when it hit. She wasn't pregnant. And worse, she had publicly spoken about her struggles with infertility.
The reporter did not have a baby bump. She wasn't pregnant. And apparently it had a history of difficulty in getting pregnant, which is why generally you just stay far away for something like that.
But she's already kind of like, oh, why are you asking me about my bump? Like, how dare you do that? As if this woman meant any harm in it. Just like, she looks cute, she has a bump. But, this was in 2016. I would say that modern feminism peaked in 2016. Like, women were just doing things,
Within minutes, the clip went viral. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Every platform ripped into Blake. She had spent years being admired, envied even. But this was plain cruelty. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a conscious decision to humiliate someone in front of cameras. The internet saw it for what it was,
So that's your brain on modern feminism. You get asked the question, you're immediately offended because, of course, they would never ask this to a man. The woman's like, yeah, no, I would ask that to a guy because, like, yeah, that makes sense. Here's your brain when you don't suffer from that and you're just a guy and you just think logically and try to, I guess, come up with the answer.
Kirsty responded quickly. On July 15th, 2024, she released a statement confirming what everyone already suspected. This wasn't just a slip-up. It was humiliating. She explained her years of struggling to have children, how Blake's words felt like a punch to the gut.
And ironically, she's trying her hardest in that interview not to be a woman when she's asked that question, like, you can't ask me about pregnancy, you can't ask me about outfits.
And just to clear up any conspiracy theories, she made it very clear. She had no connection to Justin Baldoni, Blake's lawsuit, or any of the Hollywood drama. She wasn't some paid-off media puppet trying to smear Blake's name. She was just a journalist doing her job. And Blake? She went out of her way to embarrass her.
And so this woman came out and said, yeah, I almost literally quit my job because, by the way, that wasn't the only time that she had interviewed her. She interviewed her for Also a Simple Favor. She was similarly rude. And I think that in her modern feminist mind, she thinks that when she's being rude, she's taking a stance for women, and she's not.
That was the moment everything changed. The internet turned on Blake Lively like never before. This wasn't about "it ends with us." It wasn't about Baldoni. It was about who Blake really was behind the perfect PR mask. People who had never cared about the lawsuit suddenly had a reason to hate her. The headlines weren't about her case anymore. They were about her character. It wasn't a debate of who's lying anymore. It was, has Blake Lively always been this awful?
Flaw responded afterwards saying that this whole thing got, publicized, your lawsuit, saying she is in no way connected to any attempt to smear Blake Lively. She doesn't know the PR people involved in this, and she said as follows.
But Blake wasn't just losing the public. She was also losing control. While social media dragged her, her PR team launched a full-scale attack on Justin Baldoni. If they couldn't win on truth, they were going to win with smears. Enter Stephanie Jones and Leslie Sloan, two of Hollywood's most powerful publicists. These women had built entire careers out of cleaning up celebrity scandals. But this time, their job wasn't saving Blake. It was destroying Baldoni.
I had a bad experience with Blake Lively. At the time, I kind of had enough of Hollywood. I wasn't afraid of being canceled anymore, so I posted the video. So that one, which I think is the most famous example, Brian, the journalist herself is saying she had absolutely no connection to Justin Baldoni or these PR agents that we've been discussing.
By August 2024, the smear campaign was in full motion. Anonymous sources started coming forward. Major publications ran hit pieces on Baldoni. Overnight, the story shifted. Justin wasn't just a director, he was a problem. He was controlling, difficult to work with, maybe even abusive. Some articles hinted at new allegations, even though no actual claims had been filed. The goal was obvious: make him look guilty, whether he was or not.
I would say all of it did not generate with this PR team. I mean, since I've been involved in this case, I've gotten 50 either texts or emails or, things to my firm's website, more than 50 actually, about this was my experience with Blake Lively.
But this wasn't just a whisper campaign. This was a full-on media takedown. The real bombshell? The New York Times jumped in. A prestigious, respected publication suddenly ran a pro-Blake article, treating her claims as absolute fact. At first, it looked like a major win for Blake. The Times was siding with her. That alone should have been enough to sway public opinion. But then, Baldoni's team fought back.
We weren't allowed to talk to her on the set. We weren't allowed to ask for an autograph. We were, instructed, this way or that. We were treated like this. I mean, and these things aren't coming because we're doing an investigation. These are completely organic. These are based on people's real life experiences.
On September 4th, 2024, his lawyers released a massive collection of receipts, emails, text messages, internal documents. They exposed everything. They linked multiple anonymous sources directly back to Blake's PR team. They revealed that the New York Times had selectively edited text messages to make Baldoni look worse. And just like that, the entire campaign collapsed.
In fact, we've come across evidence that shows that even her own representatives knew that she was threatening and mean and tough and wanted to get her way.
Hollywood panicked. Executives who had stood by Blake suddenly weren't answering her calls. Co-stars who once defended her went silent. Publications that had backed her lawsuit now refused to cover the case at all. It wasn't just that Blake was losing public support. She was losing Hollywood itself.
The Baldoni cut, I'll call it, scored significantly higher than Blake Lively's cut. And still Blake Lively's cut was the one that was chosen. He still didn't do anything publicly.
And now, Blake Lively wasn't just losing a lawsuit. She was losing everything. And it's getting so viral now because for years, Blake Lively carried herself as Hollywood royalty. Graceful, composed, and untouchable. She was the golden girl, the A-lister with a reputation so spotless it almost seemed artificial. But behind the perfectly curated image, the red carpet smiles, and the controlled PR machine, there was a very different version of Blake, one that Hollywood insiders had been whispering about for years.
We have a source that tells us that some of the cut that she had has some of Baldoni's version in it. I mean, in June of 2024, Blake Lively took over the marketing for the film. Again, there's nothing nothing negative in the press or anything else like that.
It wasn't the public who saw it first. It was the people who worked with her, the assistants, the crew members, the staff who weren't blinded by celebrity worship, but instead saw the real Blake Lively, the one who didn't need to perform. And now, they weren't staying silent anymore. By October 2024, over 50 industry professionals had come forward with disturbing accounts of what it was really like to work with Blake Lively. These weren't just vague complaints about diva behavior, they were horror stories.
Since I've been involved in this case, I've gotten 50 either texts or emails or things to my firm's website, more than 50 actually, about this was my experience with Blake Lively.
Crew members who had worked on her projects, including It Ends With Us, revealed that they were given strict instructions never to speak to her. No eye contact, no small talk, no approaching her unless absolutely necessary. This wasn't just celebrity privilege, it was controlled intimidation. People on set described working in a constant state of anxiety, never knowing if they were about to be yelled at, or worse, fired on the spot.
I just really loved those patchwork jeans that you have.
Magnolia Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my real life jeans.
Yeah, a lot of that is your stuff.
The boots were mine.
I love those
there's these great Louboutins that are also a close-up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine. I have a few of my husband's shirts and socks randomly in the movie.
A production assistant from It Ends With Us later gave an interview detailing what life on set was like under Blake's rule. He explained that every day felt like walking on eggshells, where one wrong move could get someone thrown off the project. According to his account, crew members were removed for as little as looking at her the wrong way. It wasn't just difficult, it was unbearable. And the worst part? No one dared to push back.
People started noticing that Blake seemed sort of bullyish to this person who has far less power and stature in the industry than Blake does.
Even her own PR representatives knew exactly who they were dealing with. A former publicist who had worked with multiple high-profile celebrities later revealed that Blake was known as mean and ruthless in industry circles. She was controlling, manipulative, and impossible to challenge when she wanted something done her way. And that's exactly what happened with It Ends With Us.
She didn't seem to take well to it. And Flaw responded afterwards saying that this whole thing got, publicized, your lawsuit, saying she is in no way connected to any attempt to smear Blake Lively.
The film was supposed to be Justin Baldoni's passion project. He had been attached to it for years, working closely with author Colleen Hoover to make sure the adaptation stayed true to its message about domestic violence. He had a clear vision, a loyal team, and an edit of the film that scored significantly higher in test screenings than Blake's version. But none of that mattered, because Blake decided it wasn't her version.
It turns out that Blake Lively was caught on tape talking about how she manipulates people around her in order to take control of the movies upon which she works. Oops!
By April 2024, Blake had successfully forced him out of his own film. She took control of the final cut, rewrote key scenes, and ensured that her version was the one that got released. When Justin tried to push back, she locked him out of the editing process completely. One of Justin's editors later came forward in September 2024, revealing that Blake had inserted parts of Baldoni's original edit into the final cut, without his consent. And by June 2024, she had completely taken over the film's marketing. It was no longer about the original story. It was about Blake's narrative.
But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that.
And through it all, she had one very powerful ally backing her every move. For months, Ryan Reynolds played the supportive husband in public, making jokes, dodging controversy, and letting Blake handle the legal battle. The tides are turning. The once celebrated reign of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds as a beloved Hollywood couple is facing unprecedented challenges. Whether they can navigate this storm and reclaim their stature remains uncertain, but the impact of these events will undoubtedly resonate throughout their personal and professional lives for years to come.